Christmas Day in 1876. When I was littler, I was very shy and very short too. I wouldn't play with anybody and I wouldn't talk very much. My parents took me to a child doctor and he said that I was a shy child. And he said to bring out my shyness, I had to teach. So at the age of 17, I started teaching. At first I was super shy because my class only had 20 people in it. But later it was 60. Somehow I had gotten the most strict person award, even though I wasn't strict at all. 3 troublesome boys had drove away the first teacher. I learned from those boys because of my tomboyish ways. My brother taught me how to throw a ball like a boy, ride a horse bareback. Later I moved to Boston, New Jersey. I learned that there was no free schools for poor people there, so I started one. First, only a few people showed up, then a ton. So the city voted to make a new school, but I was crushed with school. I couldn't believe that they had made him the principal just because he was a man. So I quit. I went and worked in Washington, D.C. Later I learned that then the Civil War started. Abraham Lincoln had declared freedom for African Americans. And then the North and South had a war. Later I learned that most of the recruits were my old students, so I rushed to help. I mailed letters, put things in ads, and asked friends for supplies. Soon I had 3 warehouses full of supplies, like jams, jellies, sewing kits, and special order of the general, tobacco. Later I recruited to be in war. I was a Civil War hero. In the Battle of the Bull Run, somebody nicknamed me Angel of the Battlefield because I was almost the only nurse brave enough to go out there and help the men who were wounded on the battlefield. One man had a bullet stuck in his cheek, but he wouldn't let the doctors take it out because he said people who needed it more had to be worked on. So, gritting my teeth, I pulled out my pocket knife and yanked out the bullet myself. Later, I was running through war, and somebody hit me with a musket ball in the shin. I still went on, and I helped a lot of people that day. I still went on. Soon the war was over, so I went home. Later, I learned that my sister had become very sick, so I went over to my home. I helped her out. Later, I went back to the war. I helped in many wars, and then soon, when I went back there, I had learned of the harsh conditions of the soldiers. There was no food, no clean water, and all the mobs had taken away all their clean clothes and possessions. So I told the president this, and he said it's outrageous. So he sent somebody out there to look at it, and he said, I want all the townspeople's houses cleaned and ready for the soldiers in less than 2 hours. So it was better then, but still it was quite hard. Barely any nurses had signed up because most women were afraid to go onto the battlefield. So I worked on for many days. I hadn't slept for more than 72 hours. I was very, very tired. Finally, I had rest to sleep for 2 hours, but then another wagon full of wounded soldiers came in. I got up and brushed off my skirts and started working. Soon the war was over, so I went home. I started missing the feeling that people needed me. So I started helping people in national disasters like typhoons, floods, and tornadoes. I helped lots of people. Soon I had the idea for the American Red Cross. There was already a Japanese Red Cross and a German Red Cross, but I wanted to make an American one. So I asked the president. There was a new president because Abraham Lincoln had been assassinated. He told me no. I was very sad, but I still helped other people. Later that vaccinated too. So there was another. I asked him, and he said yes. So I started to work on it. It was really hard, but then I came down with a very bad double pneumonia. I stayed in bed for many months. I was bedridden for 4 months. I couldn't get out of bed, not even to get a drink. Finally, I got better. So I started working. Then I heard my dad was dying, so I went to his house. I told him that I was working for the Red Cross. I was making the Red Cross now, and I told him I was a Civil War hero. My dad was always called Captain, even though he didn't really work in the war. He was still a patriot. So I started working on the Red Cross. In the end, it all worked out, and that's how the American Red Cross was made.